Hey everyone, Stephen Donziger, who for some time has been the lead plaintiff attorney against Chevron and on behalf of 80 Ecuadorian villagers along the Amazon River Delta in Ecuador, has faced another setback in that the United States Supreme Court refused to hear his attempt to reopen the case where in New York at the United States First District Court, Judge Lewis Kaplan, ruled that Donziger was in violation of the Racketeer Enforced Corrupt Organizations Act, RICO, in 2011 for basically the very shady and underhanded way he handled his lawsuit against Chevron. Well, what did he do? Well, let's take some examples. First of all, he bribed not one, but allegedly a number of judges. He threatened judges. He bullied judges. He engineered a situation where he was ghostwriting the judgment against Chevron on behalf of the Ecuadorian court. I'm not kidding you. The one that led him to almost pocket $20 billion at one point. Then was reduced to $9 billion, which he never collected on. And then, on top of all that, he hired consultants, but then basically engineered a situation where the consultants were not telling the truth regarding data they were reading, all to make it look like Chevron had polluted in Ecuador, when in point of fact, it had not, to the levels that Donziger and the Amazon Defense Coalition have claimed, long claimed. This is a 25-year-long case, fueled by a number of litigation finance companies like Burford Capital, for example, and H5. Two organizations of which have since pulled out their involvement in Donziger's pursuit. Now that Donziger has lost at the Supreme Court level, the U.S. Supreme Court level, in an episode that he's asserted cast a dark shadow on the United States judicial system, he now believes, Donziger does, that he's going to receive a victory somewhere around the world. He didn't get it in Canada, yet he filed an appeal and he expects to get a win this fall. As long as Donziger has money coming in to fuel his exploits, this can go on and on and on, even if he never secures a win. And why will he not secure a win? Because of the basis of what his claim is. It doesn't matter if you read something like in Telliser or other publications that have a Chevron did it kind of attitude. The bottom line is that Chevron was never in Ecuador. They bought Texaco, Chevron did. There was a partnership between Texaco and Petroecuador, the state-run oil company. And over that time, between 1967 and 1992, Ecuador, through Petroecuador, owned more of the consortium, to the point where that by 1989, Chevron, then as Texaco, was never even involved in Ecuador. Then Chevron itself purchased Texaco in 2005 and inherited this entire situation. For its part, Texaco had signed a 1998 contract stating that it had done $40 billion in environmental remediation, that's a fancy term for cleanup, and agreed with the government of Ecuador that it had completed its responsibilities and was able to go, if you will. But the simple fact of the matter is that until recently, and even now this is alleged, Petroecuador had polluted vast amounts of oil in the Amazon River Delta and didn't clean it up. And when it would happen, as was the case in, for example, 2011, they would point at the never existing Chevron and said, they did it, they did it. Come on, they didn't do it. What has fueled much of this, aside from money, is this belief that because a company is big, it is automatically bad. That is not the case at all. And I have no issue speaking on behalf of Chevron. When I first got into this, it was because as a grad student at Berkeley, I was always fed this idea that, oh, hey, you know what? American oil companies are bad. Big American companies are bad overseas. The real truth, particularly in the third world, as it has been called, but the truth is that in countries like Nigeria and Ecuador, to name two examples, you have a group of people at the top, very wealthy, who share nothing with those at the bottom. A caste system is allowed to develop at the bottom. People are very poor. They have meager resources. And they're not just undereducated, but uneducated. And the people at the top let them stay that way, while the people at the top take the resources. Let me give you an example. In 2009, Ecuador's Attorney General Washington Pinzons said that if Donziger wins his ruling, which Pinzons expected because it was fixed anyway, he didn't say that part, Ecuador is going to take 90%, his words, not mine, 90% of the award. 90%. Which makes Ecuador, what, a party to the lawsuit, right? At a time when the Amazon Defense Coalition was personally bullying me, or trying to bully me to say that Ecuador was not a party to the lawsuit. Ecuador was a party to the lawsuit. I can give other examples as well of what I'm talking about. The simple fact of the matter is that this is a case of people being involved on the side where they say they're right against Chevron, but when you look deeper, you realize that all of them have had their hands out with skin in the game. So when I was asked to get involved with this, I knew, having heard about this, that Chevron was being unfairly accused here and the victim of a kind of big company prejudice, something that I discovered when I was at school at Berkeley. And I'm not saying this is like a leftist thing or whatever, but it is a leftist thing. And it's a little annoying, okay? So I was happy to get involved. Still am. Just want to put that out there. What Donziger has done with respect to Chevron is completely wrong. He'll never win.